In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the double ring, which is the best variation of the magic ring, also known as the magic circle. The double ring method is the most secure, especially if you're working with amigurumi and toys that children will be playing with. You do not want your work coming apart, and the double ring method will help ensure that doesn't happen. It also gives you a very small hole or no hole for all of those projects that you're working in the round. It might be a little confusing at first if you're new to the magic ring or new to crochet, but if you practice, I promise it does get easier.
You're going to take your strand of yarn. If you're just starting out, I would say give yourself about 12 to 15 inches before you start wrapping around your fingers. Once you become more comfortable with it, you can probably use less, but I'm going to do about 12 inches before I start. So hold on to the yarn with your thumb and ring finger or whatever feels comfortable to you. You're going to make the peace sign and hold your fingers horizontally. Keep your fingers spread apart. It does make it easier. You're going to wrap it away from you 3 times. So you have 3 strands of yarn around your fingers. And leave a little space in between each strand, and then grab the end of that tail between your thumb and ring finger. So you're holding on to the same strand, but twice at the bottom. Insert your hook behind the 3 strands of yarn. I think it's a little easier if you turn your hook after you grab that yarn. Just turn your hook and start pulling it down and to the right so it's outside of the strands of yarn. I'm going to rotate my hook and go right back to that left strand of yarn, hook it again, and I'm going to pull that through that loop. Take the yarn off of your fingers. You can see the 2 loops, which is why it's called the double ring. We have our tail and we have our working yarn. And I like to put my fingers inside the ring, and I just pull up on that working yarn so it's tight to my crochet hook. And now I just secure it by doing a chain 1. So this is going to be your magic ring. Now before we move on to the next step, I'm just going to show you how I did that one more time. Give yourself about 12 to 15 inches of yarn before you start wrapping. Grab it gently between your thumb and your ring finger. You're going to wrap the yarn away from you around your fingers, making a peace sign, spreading your fingers, turn them horizontally. Wrap the yarn as far left as you can on your fingers. Wrapping away from you, you're going to do that 3 times. So you have 3 strands of yarn on your fingers. Grab the end of that yarn between your thumb and ring finger. So you're holding on to it like this. Insert the hook behind the strands of yarn and grab the strand that's to the left. Rotate your hook downward so it makes it easier to pull, and you're going to start pulling that strand down and to the right. Rotate that hook so it's facing back up. Go right back to that strand on the left. Get underneath it and hook it again and pull it through the loop on your hook. Take it off your fingers. I turn it this way so my working yarn is to the left. And now I just pull up on that working yarn so it's all the way up to the loop on my hook. Chain 1 to secure it. And now you're ready to start stitching inside the ring. Most often you're going to put 6 single crochet into the ring. So after you've chained 1 to secure it, you're just going to insert your hook And how you hold on to this is up to you. I usually end up spreading my fingers just so it's easier to get into that ring. Take your hook and insert it inside the ring, yarn over in the back, pull it up into the ring, yarn over, and pull through both loops on your hook. That's your first single crochet. So I'm just going to do that again. Insert my hook, yarn over in the back, pull it up to the front, yarn over, and pull through both loops. I have 2 single crochet in my ring. I'm going to do 4 more. Pull up on that loop, and now I'm going to grab the magic ring with my right hand, make any adjustments if it twists that you need to. Hold on to it near that last single crochet that you just made, and I'm going to pull one of these strands, doesn't matter which one, just pull one so it's farther out than the other. I like to put my thumb and finger down toward the bottom now and pull on that tail to see which one of those strands moves. I can see the one that I pulled out is the one that's moving. So I move my finger and thumb down to the bottom where I made the first single crochet, and I pull that loop that moved toward the bottom and start pulling it to tighten up that ring. Once I do that, you can see that this strand right here is the one that's tightening, and you pull it as tight as you want. Now you can get it as tight depending on the yarn you're using. You can get it so that it's absolutely no hole showing whatsoever. I'm going to leave it open just a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. Once that's as tight as you want it, you're going to pull on the tail to tighten up that loop. And that is your magic ring. All you need to do now is to join to close it. Most patterns will tell you to do a slip stitch join, but I would caution you that if you're working in the round, which is what we're doing, an invisible join looks so much better. It does not leave a seam going up the side of your project like the slip stitch join method does. I'll leave a link to 2 videos in the description box below. One is for how I do the invisible join method. The second is the invisible join method, but changing colors. To do the slip stitch join, I would just insert that loop back onto my hook, tighten it up. I would find that very first stitch, and if you have any question, you can just count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that first stitch, like I said, it gets a little tighter than all the rest. You can see the difference between the double loops there on the top. So I would try to stitch at least that first stitch a little looser so it's easier to get into. These 2 loops are from the chain, so you don't want to make the mistake of inserting your hook there. You want to make sure it's the very first stitch. So insert your hook under those 2 loops of the first stitch. I have my hook under both loops. I'm going to yarn over and just pull it through the stitch and the loop on my hook, and that is a slip stitch join. So this makes your projects look so much better. Like I said, you can tighten that hole up so that you don't see any hole whatsoever. But if you're using the chain 4 slip stitch to the first stitch method to make circles, you always have a hole that you want to sew closed. With this method, you don't have to do that, and because we're using the double ring, it's going to be secure and not come apart. Please give this method a try. Once you do, you will never go back to that chain 4 method when you're making a circle. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up.